Well, it looks like there's a tentative deal on the table that would put a huge dent in the budget deficit. Ed Lascos has more on where the money is coming from.
It's a watershed moment, that from Mayor Villaraigosa. The deal we're talking about here is cut with the unions, representing about 60% of the city's civilian workers. The catch is, though, those workers would have to pay in more for their pensions and health benefits for retirees. They're calling it pension reform here at City Hall.
Our challenge is going to be to work to convince all of our employees.
Because we have been here before, we are again going to ask our members to sacrifice, to dig a little deeper.
The union leadership will have to get its members to vote yes on this. And even with this deal, we're still talking about a projected budget deficit for next fiscal year.
The unions want to lay people off, want to furlough them.
Despite his union credentials and alliances, Mayor Villaraigosa rejects a last-ditch appeal from city unions and votes to order that pink slips go out to nearly 300 city workers. Only hours earlier, the mayor told his general managers to hold off on issuing the layoff notices that will hit library and parks workers hardest. He said he wanted to give the unions a chance to pitch their alternative plan, not involving layoffs, that would also save the city tens of millions of dollars. Wednesday afternoon, union leaders huddled at City Hall just before meeting with the city's negotiating panel, consisting of Villaraigosa and 4 council members. Council President Pro Tem Jan Perry said she'd only pull back from the layoffs if the unions had a real alternative.
Something that's grounded in reality.
Finally, the panel, including Villaraigosa, voted unanimously to reject the union's counterproposal. While refusing to disclose the union's alternative plan, union leader Victor Gordo, but the way the mayor's office sees it now,
the employees will be laid off on July 1. There's always the possibility that something could be done in the interim to avoid those layoffs, but at this time it appears very unlikely.
In Los Angeles, John Schwada, Fox 11 News.
We don't have the money to pay for an increase of that kind.
That's Mayor Villaraigosa, former union man, reinventing himself as Mr. Miser.
All right, the city needs to save money, no doubt. Some people say a place to start is pension reform. The mayor, Antonio Villaraigosa, outlined his idea. Here's John Schwada.
Mayor Villaraigosa told us at his news conference today that as a longtime union supporter, he never figured he'd be pushing for pension reform. But he said the issue has been forced on him, and he says he's up to the job of fixing pension systems that are broken.
These level of benefits are simply unsustainable. We've got to stop the bleeding. We aren't proposing draconian benefit cuts, nor am I proposing that we move to 401k plans. This is a smart, moderate plan that will result in significant savings to the city.
The estimated savings in the mayor's new plan, $1.5 billion over 20 years. But very little of that savings would be seen immediately because it affects only future civilian city workers. Now, if it's approved by the LA City Council, future employees' pensions would max out at 75% of their salary, not 100%, and city employees wouldn't be eligible for pensions until they reach age 62 instead of 55. Union leader Victor Gordo on the plan.
We're interested in addressing the city's financial crisis.
But a newsletter claims the mayor's plan would impose poverty-level pensions on future employees.
These are dark days for Los Angeles. The city is deep in debt.
The money crunch issue is far from settled at City Hall.
The City of Angels is showing her age.
Another day, another water main break in Los Angeles.
Thousands of city workers are losing their jobs.
Today, I am directing the elimination of 1,000 filled full-time position authorities.
But there's one city agency that's immune to the slashing and burning. Welcome to the LADWP, where layoffs and furloughs don't exist. It's so powerful that last December it won a 5-year pay hike.
Prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
It happened on the eve of LA's worst budget disaster. The City Council voted to give DWP's largest union a multi-year raise worth $300 million.
DWP gets a raise. What's that all about? I thought we were in a fiscal emergency.
Twice you've gone to DWP and gave them outrageous contracts. This is ridiculous.
I'm not going to apologize for doing a good job for my members.
Meet Brian Darcy. He keeps a low profile but wields plenty of power in LA politics. He is head of the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, or IBEW, Local 18. And at a time when the city is facing a financial crisis, he managed to win that $300 million pay raise for his members.
If the argument is, oh, well, they should make less, I'm not going to buy into that.
But you can see why people are frustrated that they're doing their best to
Certainly.
conserve.
They're frustrated for a lot of different reasons.
Their rates are going up. They're saying, what about
generally
shared
how they feel
sacrifice?
is not relevant. What about shared sacrifice?
They're saying, what about shared sacrifice? We're all hurting. Everyone, including well-paid IBW members, maybe ought to make a little sacrifice.
What?
Darcy can afford to ignore public opinion. His allegiance is to the IBEW.
We don't want to be in a situation where we're threatening to strike and you're threatening to take
So
pay
you
away.
would have been willing to strike if they had said no?
Potentially. I don't know. It depends on, the members drive. This is a democracy.
What Darcy wants, Darcy gets. He's using the muscle and the bully tactics to get whatever he wants. City Hall is afraid of Darcy.
I actually am pretty much offended by that term because I've never, ever, in my personal life or my public life, have ever been a bully. But I am going to represent middle-class, working-class people to the full extent of my abilities. And, if I become an equalizer in that battle, then so be it.
He does a great job for his people. Why does anyone blame a labor union for being successful?
Even before the latest pay package, DWP employees were the best paid city workers in Los Angeles.
We can open the roll.
Small wonder when it's time for a vote on pay raises, the city council has approved them time after time. Not one council member voted against the most recent IBEW contract. The document said the pension obligations could create significant liability for the employer, the DWP, meaning hundreds of millions of additional dollars will have to be paid out in retirement benefits. Darcy disagrees. He says the analysis is based on faulty data.
And that's just ridiculous analysis, and I think that they should be ashamed of themselves for that, for even putting that on paper. I mean, that's my opinion.
Why do you think me, Charles, Tim, Bob, all the guys?
No, I he's a steward, but we're a member, and I know what you did to our contract.
What did we do to your contract?
You didn't do
Christina?
shit.
What did we do?
What to our contract?
Did you
That's all I
ask
want to
him?
say.
Have you asked him?
I
Have
know
you asked him?
everything
What
that
did we do?
happened.
What? Tell me.
Oh my goodness, I can't even begin to tell you all the complaints that you did. Well, you didn't support us.
I want to know.
If you don't know by now,
You never will. So that's all. That's all.
Tell me.
That's
How many
all I want
meetings
to know.
did you
Anyway.
keep? How many meetings did you keep?
That's all I want to talk
How
to you
many
about.
meetings did we keep?
How many minutes? You didn't even do
Anything.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
blame it on the members.
A former labor union boss has been convicted on corruption charges. An L.A. jury found Tyrone Freeman guilty of embezzling tens of thousands of dollars from one of the largest local unions.
Thank you for joining us this morning as we announce a landmark proposal regarding the future of the city of Los Angeles. Recently, economists have said that although we're no longer in a recession, and as I said to a group of last year, we implemented a number of severe budget-cutting measures. We laid off hundreds of workers, and as I understand it, we've laid off more employees in the city in the last year than we had over the last 40. We've reduced the city payroll by nearly 3,500 workers. We've had to consolidate and in some cases eliminate departments. We have employees who are currently receiving, taking 26 days of furloughs. Employees who are not receiving a raise, taking some 16 days of furlough.
It became obvious to me that with a city budget deficit this year and next of over $500 million, we were going to have to downsize the city workforce. The city's response was furloughs and layoffs.
It has resulted in a 15% diminution in the city civilian workforce by retiring and managing the reduction of 3,500 workers. We have driven down costs. Our members entered into a generous agreement conceding over $100 million worth of pay raises to the city of Los Angeles to help it through its most difficult financial challenges. And yesterday afternoon, we heard from the city administrative officer that the workers' concessions are being rebuked. He notified us that the CAO intends to move forward with the layoff of 246 workers on July 1st.
Is to continue the path of changing the way the city does business. We removed this council and labor together 3,400 positions off of the city's payroll. 3,400 position elimination, real structural change. We've done that together, and we're committed, should we proceed down that path, to see more structural change. We've committed to the CAO and to members of the city council and to the mayor that we will look at long-term costs to the city's pension and other areas. Say no to pay raises and yes to protecting city services. It's absolutely ludicrous to say that we are going to save $13 million while expending $54 million to the base in the general fund and in the proprietary departments. Say no to pay raises and yes to city services. Thank you.
It's not done. We still stand prepared to work with you to keep everybody working and to keep services being provided. We implore you to not slap away the hands of generosity that city workers offered in sacrifice. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Butcher.
It's not what LA's mayor wanted to hear. Another dose of bad news about city revenue and department funding. Eyewitness News reporter John North says it's likely to mean more drastic budget cuts and furloughs, and city employee unions and law enforcement are getting ready for a fight.
The city's chief financial officer, Miguel Santana, met with Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa as Los Angeles got more bad economic news. The city controller reports that tax receipts are $26 million less than expected.
The reality is that more cuts are coming. The council needs to give us direction on what programs they no longer want to fund.
And Santana says the long-term lease of city garages, expected to help erase a $300 million deficit, is in serious jeopardy.
Close to $4 million the taxpayers are subsidizing for that program. Now we want to transfer that loss in revenue to a private operator.
Santana has suggested delaying or suspending police hiring. Not an idea that goes over with the mayor or police chief. There may be a $10 million cut to the fire department budget, and city employees could be forced to take 10 extra unpaid furlough days on top of the 26 days they currently have. The economic recovery, if there is one, is very slow in coming to Los Angeles. I tried to call the personnel department today to get some information. The department is closed because of furloughs. It will only get worse. And according to Santana, layoffs and more furloughs and cutbacks are a certainty. In downtown Los Angeles, John North, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Welcome back. I'm Sylvia Lopez. And I'm Lena Wynn. Now to closing LA's multi-million-dollar budget gap. For a start, Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa wants to eliminate 3 departments, but consolidate their functions under new management. KCAL 9's Mark Coogan live in our newsroom to tell us what this will mean for the average resident. Mark.
Lena, the latest to go is the department that oversees LA's system of neighborhood councils. According to the mayor's office, the councils will continue promoting neighborhood improvements, but the overhead will vanish. Trying to eliminate LA's $212 million budget deficit, Mayor Villaraigosa today axed another city department. He ordered that the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, which oversees the city's 90 neighborhood councils, disappear inside a larger department, eliminating 27 jobs and saving about $3 million a year.
We're not cutting neighborhood councils. We're cutting a downtown bureaucracy that has spent too much time over-regulating our neighborhood councils. And that was never the purpose of this movement in the first place.
Over the past 4 days, the mayor has ordered 3 city departments shut down: Human Services, Environmental Affairs, and now Neighborhood Empowerment, eliminating 83 jobs, saving around $6 million. The city council will have to say yes or no.
And if we don't make any cutbacks anywhere, we're just going to continue down that path where we self-destruct.
In the big picture, the city council last week approved the elimination of 4,000 city jobs to help balance the budget. Mayor Villaraigosa called on city unions to take pay cuts to minimize layoffs. The mayor's office says long-term, layoffs will save money.
Do we want to do it? No. Is it the best option? Of course not. But absent some other concessions from our friends in labor, we'll have no other choice.
While this was going on, the mayor's office today began meeting with department heads to formulate next year's budget that already faces an estimated $485 million deficit. An aide to the mayor said that pared-down budget will reflect a city government that will look nothing like it does today. Live in the newsroom, I'm Mark Coogan, KCAL 9 News. Sylvia, back to you.
I told you that not on my watch. On July 1st, we'll have balanced our budget. On July 1st, we'll have extricated about 3,500 people from our payroll. On July 1st, we'll begin the implementation of furloughs and layoffs. We shouldn't do this. I understand that there are other views. In the end, the only reason why we will have a balanced budget on July is because we had the fortitude to make the tough decisions.
LA's budget crisis this morning heating up as the mayor calls for the shutdown of some city services on some days.
This causing a war of words at City Hall.
We can spend a lot of time pointing fingers. The issue is the council has spoken.
The mayor blames the city council. Now the mayor wants to shut down the majority of city services like libraries and parks 2 days a week, starting on Monday.
There's a way out, and the way out is for all of us to take a cut. I've asked our employees to do the same. I'm going to have to make these tough cuts.
Councilman Bernard Parks says he would not support the mayor's proposal if police and fire were exempt, as the mayor has promised. And the mayor did reiterate this morning that he wants to see no more cuts to police and fire, that safety has got to be number one. Now, the union leaders of those workers who could face the cuts, they say the mayor can't do this, that these workers have contracts with the city and you can't put them on furloughs unless the unions agree to it.
The battle over the budget is now turning into a power struggle between Mayor Villaraigosa and the LA City Council, with the DWP taking most of the heat. John Schwada has the very latest.
We're kind of fed up with water and power.
LA City Council members, led by Greg Smith Wednesday, began looking at ways to radically reshape DWP management after the utility refused to transfer $73 million to cash-strapped City Hall. Council President Eric Garcetti said that's a great idea.
We all know this department can be run more efficiently.
Mayor Villaraigosa also chipped in.
What I've said to them is I want you to look at your books. And if you can make a transfer, I'd like you to do it.
Villaraigosa himself kicked up a storm Tuesday when he warned that without DWP's $73 million, he'd have to place thousands of city workers on unpaid leave 2 days a week, causing a huge disruption in city services.
It's over the top. The Alice in Wonderland movie. We're not going to lay off people or furlough people 2 days a week.
A top advisor also assured the council the mayor could not order those kinds of furloughs starting next Monday on his own.
The mayor does not have the unilateral authority to do that.
There's a big issue going on in the city of Los Angeles right now. The mayor is calling for drastic measures to deal with the city's imminent financial meltdown. It has to do with money. It has to do with politics. It has to do maybe with ego. Bobby D, outside City Hall. Bob, good morning.
Good morning, Steve. So yesterday, Mayor Villaraigosa directed the city administration officer to look at cutting some non-essential services for 2 days a week. We're talking about things like libraries, parks, and recreational services. He says that this is his fiduciary responsibility.
I am asking the CAO to develop a plan to shut down all general funded city services, with the exception of public safety and revenue generating positions, for 2 days per week, beginning the week of April 12th.
This is just outrageous. It's just unbelievable. And I don't know what the next step is for us to take with a renegade DWP.
I'm not an ideologue. I didn't run for office on the platform of pension reform.
The council hereby reiterates its commitment to eliminate 1,000 positions and instructs personnel in all departments to eliminate an additional 3,000 position authorities by any means necessary, including layoff.
Forward, Mr. Mayor, we just introduced the context for your visit. We very much appreciate you being here and coming to talk to the council. And here you are. If I could ask, please, our council chambers to...
All right, yes, please, if we could have some quiet in the chambers and welcome Mayor Villaraigosa to the podium.
If I could ask folks, please, to...
Okay, and if we could show some respect, please. If you would please keep your voices down. This is freedom and democracy, and we respect each other's opinions even when we don't agree. So please show respect. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Situation, none, that exists where layoffs will not be a part of the solution here. None. Move quickly to reduce the size of the workforce. We will be compelled to lay off people in even greater numbers in the future. And I want to be as clear as possible. The layoffs that I've ordered are just the beginning unless we make these decisions now. There is no situation, none, that exists where layoffs will not be a part of the solution here. None. Layoffs will be a part of the resolution of this 3-year deficit. Now, that's the clarification. As has been mentioned here, there are revenue options, there are collection options, there are consolidation, there's cuts that we could take, there are pension changes that we could make that can reduce that number greatly. Sorry. But in the end, layoffs are going. And the fact is, I'm here today. I am not prepared to cede that authority to anyone, even if it means that some will vilify me and these decisions. I recognize that I've got a great job, but to be clear, yes, layoffs have to be a part of, just because of the magnitude of the problem ahead. And it was the best way to go under the circumstances. We cannot. That was last year's deficit that we addressed. We're still not, in fact, the original deficit. Now that deficit has grown, and next year's deficit is still looming, and we're all going to have to go back. And we'll get and I think the gravamen of your question, we took too long. We all took too long. They took too long in their negotiations. We took too long in not making a tough decision. You know, and what I'm saying in resolving this year's deficit and next year's, we cannot afford to let time continue to be our enemy. We have to act decisively, and act now.
It's a sad day for hundreds of employees in the LA County court system given layoff notices because of drastic budget cuts. Eyewitness News reporter Robert Holguin tells us there will be a big impact on the wheels of justice.
In an effort to cut $30 million from its budget, the Los Angeles Superior Court System announced another round of layoffs, a move that will affect hundreds of employees in the nation's largest trial court system.
Sad day for the justice system generally. In my view, one of the saddest days in our court history.
Judge Lee Smalley Edmond is the presiding judge of the LA County Superior Court. She says the courts have become a casualty of the state's budget crisis.
There are going to be delays in the process of virtually every kind of case. Because as part of the process, when we lose all these employees, we're also going to have to close courtrooms.
According to a court news release, 157 employees are being laid off. 108 employees will lose 40% of their salaries when they go from 5 days a week to 3. 86 employees will be reclassified to lower-paying positions, and 80 others are being transferred to new jobs.
We are closing 56 courtrooms across the county in every kind of area.
Courthouse employees say they are, of course, concerned that more of their colleagues will be out of work, but they say, make no mistake, cuts in the courthouse mean more problems for the general public.
Things do not move through this building like they used to. You can't get cases resolved.
Chair Mason has been a court clerk at the Stanley Moss Courthouse downtown for more than 15 years.
Documents that used to get processed in a day or two are now sitting on my desk for a week or two.
People who use the courts regularly say they've already experienced delays since the last round of layoffs that started 2 years ago.
Now it's going to take even longer once the cuts are happening. I mean, less employees, more work.
Edmund says there will likely be more budget cuts next year, which will likely mean more layoffs and more delays for everything from divorces to traffic tickets.
And I know what you did to our contract.
What did we do to your contract?
You didn't do shit.
What did we do to our contract?
You didn't do shit.
What did we do
to our contract? I know what you did to our contract.
What did we do to your contract?
You didn't do shit.
What did we do
to our contract?
That's
all I want to say.
Have you asked him?
I know everything that happened.
What? Tell me.
Oh my goodness. I can't even begin to tell you all the complaints that you did. Well, you didn't support us.
I want to know.
If you don't know by now,
you never will. So that's all.
Tell me.
That's all I want to know. Anyway.
How many meetings did you came?
That's all I want to talk
How
to you
many
about.
meetings did we keep? How many minutes? You didn't do anything.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
blame it on the members. Blame your incompetence.
When you let anger dictate this way, you don't have the brains. That's the